Now back to the growing battle for 2024. Another week, another round of candidates have joined the race on the GOP side, with even more to come. Some are front runners and others are underdogs, but all have supporters. So we ask you what you're looking for this election season. Watch.
Who may be in the lead right now? I would say Desantis, or what he's doing. He's playing a nice game of chess, the way he's doing things in Florida. Do I agree with him? No, but I see what he's doing. I see the plays he's making.
I'm not a real Trump fan, but I was when he was an entertainer on the entertainment side of things. I'm not really a Joe Biden fan, and I'm a registered Democrat, to be honest. You know, I don't want to make it a thing of his age, but obviously I'm seeing some things with him that I feel that it's not good for leading this country.
Whoever leads for both parties or every party, I hope that they have a focus on just the country as a whole.
If we could find someone that's kind of more in that middle area.
What do you want out of the next president?
Probably to be younger.
Maybe next president, somebody a little bit younger, more relatable.
Just to put America first.
I totally agree with helping out other countries, and I'm okay with that. But how about helping our people?
Somebody who actually makes an effort to do that, as opposed to just say, we need to have more bipartisan politics.
Get everyone united. We're supposed to be the United States.
Instead of all this craziness, oh, you're a Democrat, you're a right-wing Republican, that has to stop. And the next president needs to work on that majorly.
Joining me now, New York Post political reporter John Levine, as well as Fox News contributor Democratic strategist Leslie Marshall. Thanks so much for joining the program. I want to talk about Joe Biden because the American people just don't feel like we're heading down the right path right here. Are the Democrats going to allow a debate to take place so you guys can get a better option, or you just going to handpick them?
A couple of things. First of all, I like my option, and I don't believe any poll, even when it says what I like, okay? Even when it's saying what I want it to say. I just don't believe in the polls anymore. And I think a good example is the polls that came up saying there would be a huge sea of red, unlike my background of blue, a tsunami, they said. They said there were going to be so many seats that were picked up in the House by Republicans, and yeah, that didn't happen. And that's not going to happen in the next election either. There's not going to be a tsunami of red. Joe Biden is the president. Joe Biden will be the president,
you don't agree,
especially when I'm looking at what the alternatives are.
Real quickly, because I think this is an important conversation to have. So do you believe the over 70% of Americans that feel like we're heading down the wrong path with Joe Biden?
Well, if I believe that, then I have to believe the more than 70% or 60%, depending on which poll you look at, of Americans that don't think Donald Trump should run again. I don't put a lot of stock in the polls. And one thing I will say on both sides of the aisle, and you know this happens all the time, there are people right now in back rooms that are hoping it's Ron DeSantis, but fear it's going to be Donald Trump, and they will back him. They will vote for him. They will hold their nose again like they did in 2016. And the same is on the left with the Democrats. There are Democrats that really wish that Joe Biden wouldn't run again, and you see it in the polls, but they will vote for him when they see what the alternative is and when they feel their rights, especially women's reproductive rights, or people that don't like books banned and other issues, when they see what the alternative is, they will go with Joe Biden, even though they may be uncomfortable with his age or not as happy with the way things are in their America.
John, I want to go over to the Republican side. Ron DeSantis had a rollout this week, a little choppy, a little boring, in my opinion, of the way he presented himself. He was reading from a sheet. But when he did his interview with Trey, it seemed like he got in his bag and he really started to really present some of the issues that was there. But I still don't think, John, it's enough to go against that Trump base. It seems like the Republican Party, at its core, is still on the Trump train. What do you see out there?
Well, I would say we're still very, very early. I think Trump is still enjoying kind of a sugar high. I think that's how the DeSantis people would put it. I would push back against claims that the Twitter rollout, even though it was choppy, is going to have any impact on Governor DeSantis. The news cycle is so fast, no one's going to remember that there was a glitchy Twitter rollout in 2 weeks from now. It's not some systemic problem. And as long as he rights the ship going forward, I don't think it's going to be an issue. Look, Trump has major vulnerabilities, and I'm not talking about vulnerabilities that are things Joe Biden is going to attack him on. I'm talking about vulnerabilities he has on the right. He's going to have to answer why he empowered Fauci and locked down the country. He's going to have to answer why he signed the First Step Act into law, letting out hordes of violent criminals onto our streets, and we happen to be in the midst of a major crime wave right now. He's going to have to answer why he appointed his children into senior posts in his administration, despite them not having any relevant qualifications. These are all things I expect Governor DeSantis to hit him on pretty hard, and we'll see if that starts to dent the Trump base over time.
But, John, all those things, as you just stated, are fair record points to bring up in the debate. But all that stuff is out there. And we're not talking about a small margin. We're talking about over 50% of Republican voters are still going with Donald Trump. So is that the way to attack Donald Trump?
Well, I mean, we'll see how all out there it is. I think most Americans really just aren't paying attention right now to the granular details of this. I think Trump obviously has universal name ID, but I think still a lot of Americans have to get acquainted with Ron DeSantis. They don't really know about his record in Florida, where he's been one of the most successful governors in the United States. He won an overwhelming re-election victory just recently. He turned red areas like Miami-Dade County, blue areas like Miami-Dade County, whereas Trump, by contrast, lost by 7 million votes and lost states like Arizona and Georgia, which Republicans don't generally lose. So these are all things that voters are going to have to consider.
It's going to be a fascinating debate. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, I want to get your reaction to Oprah being considered for Dianne Feinstein's seat, Leslie. I mean, is that the way to go?
Well, first of all, I love you, Lawrence, and I do live here in California, but that's not the way to go because it's not happening. This is part of the rumor mill. A couple of things here. First of all, Oprah Winfrey would go for a much higher seat than Senate, and that would be president. And she's even spoken about that in the past, first of all. Second of all, our governor, Gavin Newsom, would certainly pick somebody, although he did say he was going to pick a woman of color, and some people say, he even said more specifically, African-American woman.
He said a black woman.
He would pick somebody with it. He did say black woman. He would pick a woman with more experience. And there are a number of those in our state to pick from already. Ms. Winfrey is great at what she does, but she doesn't have a political background. And I don't think she would want the job. And if she, again, wanted politics, I think she would want a bigger slot than senator.
John, what's your reaction to this story?
I like Oprah. I'm just going to come out and say it right now. And I have to agree with Leslie. It's probably not going to happen. But, I think there's actually some validity to maybe considering it. She'd be a candidate that came in with 100% job approval ratings, 100% name ID, and she'd basically be a placeholder for when a primary could happen in 2024 that all candidates could compete in.
I just love that we're selecting candidates by their skin color. I mean, I don't know if anything is more racist than just deciding on someone based on the way they look. I like doing it based on merit, and I'm chocolate, so I think I got something to say about that. Thanks so much for joining the program tonight.